My name is Michael Kelly and I'm the Managing Director of Glandore.
Hi there, my name is Clare Kelly and I'm the Marketing and Business Development Director with Glandore.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Kelly and I am the Sales Director with Glandore.
Many businesses get started by chance, and Glandore got started by chance as well. In beginning of 2001, number 33 Fitzwilliam Square became vacant because the company that was in it was called AstraZeneca and it became too small for them. We were looking to find a new tenant, and lo and behold, the solicitor acting for AstraZeneca called me and said they would like to take the house on a short-term basis and wanted to know if I would let it go on a short-term basis. And that prompted me to explore the market for serviced offices, as they were called back then. We call it flexible space now. So I researched the market and discovered that there was a real shortage of short-term space. I opened number 33 as our first serviced office, our first Glandore serviced office. Back in 2001, the market for offices was mainly a traditional market, and leases were 25 years and even more on occasions, 30 years. It was very hard for a company to actually find a short-term space. And as it happens, there was an international provider of short-term space in the Irish market, but they were full. But at the same time, the market was very small. And when we opened number 33 Fitzwilliam Square, lots of people didn't quite know how to treat serviced offices. They regarded them as a very short term. They wondered whether they would be perceived as not being able to afford a proper office. So we had an education job to do. But as the business expanded and as we opened Fitzwilliam Hall, we really got serious about the service that we were providing, but also the IT infrastructure. So Glandore, literally from the very start, was all about providing really good space for our members, but providing really, really good IT infrastructure, and then top that off with really good customer service. So we're operating in Dublin, Cork and Belfast. We've about 3,000 desks in total. Obviously Dublin is the big location where we have 6 buildings, but we have 2 buildings in Belfast and we're operating there since 2006. And in Cork we opened in the back end of 2018, and we have about 300 desks in Cork.
So I joined the business in 2008, but prior to that I worked as an occupational therapist, studied in Trinity College and had 2.5 years in the National Rehab Hospital, working with a variety of clients, and I then went on to work in Australia as an occupational therapist as well. And while I was away, I started kind of thinking about my future and what lay ahead for me when I got back to Dublin. And at that time, just the year before I left, we had opened Fitzwilliam Hall, and the business was doing well. My sister had joined the business in 2005. And I started hearing stories about, her and Michael and Dad, working together, and it just sounded so much fun. It was a really exciting time. They had set up a marketing suite in the Muse. Fiona was selling the offices off the plans. And I just thought, God, that's really exciting. And so when I got back from Australia, before I rushed back into looking for a full-time job in OT, I approached Michael and I said, maybe I could just shadow you for a little bit and just see what I want to do. I wasn't kind of after a year out in Australia, I wasn't in a mad rush to go back into, I suppose, the kind of career building in OT. So I approached Michael and I said, was there a job for me in Glandore? And I started out as a sales executive in 2008. Had a really lovely manager, Dervla Flaherty, who took me under her wing and showed me the ropes as a novice in sales and marketing. And I suppose I just grew from there, and I found a lot of similarities between OT, funnily enough, even though it's obviously a health science, and sales, because of the interaction with people and the relationship building. And finding out what individuals' needs are and finding solutions to those. So I started out, as I said, as a sales executive, and I went on to manage sales for Dublin. And then I had 2 babies, and I took a little U-turn and came back in a marketing capacity, and started really looking at Glandore's brand and how we could, I suppose, take it to another level. And with an increasing demand for flexible workspace in the industry, there were new competitors in the market, and we really wanted to establish ourselves within the market and as an experienced provider. And I've gone on from there. So I oversee now the marketing and business development side of the business. And yeah, I love my job.
I was the last sister to join, and that was in 2011 with the launch of Susie Street. So I've actually been in a few different areas of the business, as I said, starting with Susie Street, and I had been working in a restaurant previously, loved the interaction with people, loved the fast-paced nature of service, and so it was an obvious step to jump into something we could, I suppose, grow and nurture from a family perspective. So started in Susie Street, and then in 2012 we opened number 25 as a private dining venue, and I moved a little bit more into the events and sales side of that. And there was great exposure to not only the sales, but also the marketing and PR side of launching a new venue. So I actually went back at that stage and did a degree in marketing at the same time as working. And from there, I suppose I wanted to further develop, and around 2014 there was plans to grow Glandore. Clare and Fiona were on maternity leave, and so I took a bit of a turn and joined the sales team there in Glandore, and that was a really exciting period because we launched Crankna House, number 16, number 24, Fitzwilliam Court, and then Cork, all within about 3 years. It was just a really exciting time. So yeah, that was the journey, and I've since had a baby as well, and I've got another one on the way. So while also growing the business, we've all been growing our families and supporting each other, I suppose, not only from a career perspective, but also from a development and family perspective as well. Yeah.
Fiona, who is my oldest daughter, is unable to join us this morning because she's just had her 4th baby, a baby boy, and she's named him Adam. I've been involved in property since way back 1976. And I've watched how the market has changed very dramatically, from 35-year leases down to 25-year leases, down to 15-year leases, and then down to the explosion in flexible space, in the demand for flexible space. So when we opened in 2001, we filled number 33 very quickly, and we started to look for another property. So in 2003, in fact, we purchased Fitzwilliam Hall, but it took us a little while to get our hands on it and refurbish it. So we didn't open it until 2005, but we were ready to open it in 2003. And that was a 30,000 square foot building. So we expanded fairly quickly. And in fact, we then went to Belfast in 2006 and opened a 30,000 square foot building in Belfast. So the demand for flexible space was expanding. And we were there to actually to meet that demand, and others were too. And as time has gone on, people began to appreciate the merits of flexible space, the value of flexible space. Why would you take 20,000 square feet if you only need 5,000 square feet? Why would you be planning for growth years ahead of needing it? So flexible space means that you can actually take the space when you need it, and you can expand as you need it. So great benefits for the members. So in terms of development of Glandore, we basically grew with the market. Obviously, we had some difficult times. The recession of 2008-9 right up to 2013-14 was very difficult. Banks became very difficult. Pricing became difficult in the market. So we had to pull in our horns, and we couldn't expand during that period of time. But as soon as the market lifted again, we were ready to expand again, and we did that. Susie Street came along by accident as well, because we had AIB training centre with us, and we decided that we should be able to provide the catering for all the training that AIB required with their training centre there. So we opened Susie Street to meet that demand. But that coincided with the recession and the exit of AIB. But it also coincided with the entry of Facebook, who joined us in 2008, and they required catering. So we happened to have a restaurant on site to provide the catering. And when Facebook left us, Zynga joined us, and they required the same. And when they left us, Twitter joined us, and so on. So over the course of the last 10, 15 years, we have catered for most of the major tech companies of the world as they set up their Irish headquarters.
So my earliest memory of Glandore was actually the year it opened. We had, as Michael mentioned, number 33 Fitzwilliam Square was our first building. And during that summer, so it would have been May, start of June, we basically were pulled in by Dad to scrub the building and in preparation for the opening of Glandore. So I remember a really hot summer's day, hoovering. Rebecca, you would have only been...
Oh no, I was there with you.
I know,
what
what age would you have been? Maybe only 8?
No,
it was child labour.
12. I was 12.
Child labour.
13.
Yeah.
It was good training. Good training.
One of my fondest memories, though, and we were chatting about this earlier, was actually many years later, was the alumni event. And what was really special about that night was, I suppose, over the previous 10 years that I had been working in the business and been involved in the sales, whether it was Facebook or Twitter or any of the sales, Indigenous startups as well, that we had stayed in touch with all those alumni, and over the years, and we would have regular catch-ups and interactions. But we decided in 2018 to put on a dinner for all of our alumni and invite them back into Glandore, into Fitzwilliam Hall, and we hosted it in number 25 Fitzwilliam Place, and it was just so magical. We had maintained these relationships. They were, I suppose, there was a sense of nostalgia on the night, that they were remembering those early days when they were setting up their teams, where they were the first employees of that company. But it was also a really great opportunity to network. So the companies that were there might have been there at the same time as each other, but often there might have been years in between them. But there was some really lovely connections made that night. So I think that was, and it still is, one of my fondest memories in Glandore. And I suppose the idea behind the alumni was that we wanted to celebrate their success, because those companies started off with 1 or 2 employees, and then 10 years later they're 2,000 and 3,000 employees. So it was amazing for us to be part of that journey, to play a very small role in their journey. But it was lovely that they were also interested in Glandore's journey, and are still supporting us to this day.
There was. That was a film called Far and Away, and Tom Cruise and his then wife took part. Nicole Kidman took part in it, yeah. And in fact, the whole of Fitzwilliam Square was involved in the filming of that movie. And for 3 or 4 nights, number 33 was part of that film, yeah.
We had a sleepover. We were allowed to have a sleepover in number 33 Fitzwilliam Square. So I was only 11. No, sorry, I might have been 13. Yeah, it's probably about 13. And
probably 92.
He was 91, yeah.
So our cousins, we had, there was about 8 of us. stayed over, ranging in age from maybe 17 to 13.
And you were eating in the canteen.
The food trucks.
The food trucks, yeah.
Yeah, and you were playing with the director's daughter.
We were hanging out with Ron Howard's daughter.
Dallas. She's famous actress now.
She is,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, we were
All
absolutely, starstruck by the whole thing.
So that was 10 years before Glandore.
Well, I think the quality of the buildings really stemmed from Michael. From the very beginning, Michael's favorite, one of your terms would be, if you're going to do something, do it right. So we never scrimped on the quality of the finishes that we put into the spaces. And we felt that if somebody is comfortable in the space, that they like their surrounds, that they would want to stay longer term. And we also wanted to provide a space where they would be proud to bring their clients and their, colleagues. So that's where I suppose the focus has been to provide really high quality space that our members are proud of and that they want to show off. And actually what's lovely is you'd often find people outside Fitzwilliam Hall taking pictures of the building behind them for their own websites, and that gives us, that's a really proud, I suppose, moment for us to see that they're proud of our spaces. Space is just four walls, and really what I think our members come to Glandore for is the people and the service that we provide. Because at the end of the day, we're a hospitality business rather than a property business. We want to we want our members to feel at home when they're in our buildings, and supported. We want to give our members the very best start to their operations, and we do that by meeting their needs, but also trying to exceed their expectations at all times.
Well, I think as Michael has mentioned, going back to the start, there's been an education piece as to what flexible workspace is and what are the benefits. And obviously, as it's become, wider known and appreciated, people have understood those benefits. But there's always a case to be made of educating someone who comes along to say, flexibility is of paramount importance for companies in this day and age. Being able to set up immediately, being able to flex up and down according to hiring and business needs, and just being able to have that service, as Michael said, that infrastructure and service that is that immediate setup. So the education piece has always been a factor and one that thankfully we've, I think, met that challenge head on. Obviously, over 20 years in business, there's other challenges that companies have faced, and the recession was probably the biggest one for a good 5 or 6 years.
But more recently, we've had the advent of a number of new international providers of flexible space in the Irish market, and what we have discovered is that they're not offering anything that we don't offer. And as a matter of fact, we pride ourselves on our IT infrastructure, which has been overseen by Tim Ryan, our IT director, from 2005 all the way. And he updates it and replenishes it all the time. So we know we have the best IT infrastructure in the business, and we know we offer the best customer service in the business. So we're not scared by any international competition. In fact, we relish it because it's increasing the size of the market. We will continue to open more space. The demand for flexible space is increasing all the time, and it will continue to increase. In fact, the pandemic has really enlightened people as to the values of flexible space. So we see the market growing very significantly in the coming years, and Glandore will grow with that and continue to provide excellent space, but also excellent customer service. Two of my heroes are Fergal Quinn, who wrote a book called Crowning the Customer, and set out all through his years with Super Quinn to provide excellent customer service. We do the same in Glandore. There's another man who is also a hero of mine called Isidore Sharp, and he founded the Four Seasons Hotel. And that Four Seasons, they specialise in customer service. And again, we try and emulate those heroes. And everybody in Glandore is aware of those people, has read their books, and we try and emulate what they have achieved in their times. But I suppose the key thing in Glandore is that we have an excellent team. So we're blessed with a fantastic team all around us. So we have the family, but we have an excellent team of executives who run the business and drive it every day.
Well, I very much think that the future is flexible. And as Michael said, the pandemic has really made businesses that weren't looking at flexible workspace as an option are now revisiting their property portfolio. So that might have been an Irish SME that are thinking that they need their own door, but now the shift is more towards the office being a place for social interaction, for collaboration, for relationship building, and not all offices can provide that range of space options to facilitate that. So I think that kind of small to medium-sized companies are going to look at where can they go to that can provide that environment to facilitate those needs within their business. But also larger companies that would have had their own buildings are also going to look at diversifying their property portfolio, giving more flexibility to their employees. Not all people have a designated workspace at home, so it might be that they look at using flexible workspace as a remote working location as opposed to working at home. So I think that across the board, there'll always be a demand from new companies setting up, international or Indigenous startups, that need that flexibility when they're setting up their business to scale up as they need, so there will always be that demand there. But I think that the market has really expanded as a result of the pandemic, and companies that would never have considered flexible workspace before are now going, this might be an option for us now, because you cannot put a price on flexibility, and a lot of companies have suffered over the last year by being tied to onerous lease terms and space that they can't access. So it's providing flexibility, providing scalability, but also the other key element of flexible workspace and Glandore is the community. From social interaction, from a business development perspective, you're connecting with people, on similar journeys to your own, but also with customers potentially that you can interact with and build relationships on site. So there's certainly when people have felt so isolated over the last year, there's an increasing awareness of the need for social interaction and that face-to-face interaction with their peers to facilitate creativity, innovation, and I think that as a result, the future of flexible workspace is very strong, and in fact I think there's been reports to suggest that by 2030, 30% of all office space will be flex. So it's gone from a very niche end of the property market to now becoming a very a key player and significant contributor to space. Well, we have always had a network in Glandore. It has always existed. I suppose we verbalized it more in more recent years from the last 5 or 6 years, but right from the beginning we have been aware of the need for our members to connect with each other, to provide those introductions, not just to each other but also to the wider business community. Customer service has always been a focus of Glandore's, and by knowing and getting close to our members, particularly for some international companies that are setting up and newer startups, when there are 1 or 2 employees, we've tried to support them in a variety of ways, and one of those is to connect them to people that can facilitate their growth. So that might be a chamber of commerce, or it might be an alumni that have been in similar industry that are further down the kind of the growth path. But it's trying to see how we can facilitate their growth, and that's always been our
Or even provide introductions to them to professional firms, whether it be accountants or lawyers or whatever, or even recruitment agency. So we provide introductions and try and support them in any way we can. But in terms of we have an internal social network, which is the Glandore network, and every member can access that and connect with each other. So connect with Glandore and connect with each other and connect with other providers in the market as well. So that's an internal social network.
And I suppose we find other ways to connect them through our events. We have an exclusive wellness program for our members, but we also hold larger events like Hear From Her, where we connect them to the wider business community, and that's really beneficial for new companies that are setting up that might not have a wide network in Dublin or in Cork or Belfast, and we try to facilitate those connections on the day that might help them in the future. So it's, I suppose, the lovely feedback that we get from our members that's one of the key things that they love about Glandore, is that network and that collaboration with other members is really rewarding to us.
And I suppose it's from a professional side and from looking at it from what the business needs, but what's also really rewarding is what the maybe individual gets from a social side as well. So again, a lot of our members might be startups. They might be new to Dublin, Belfast or Cork, and they don't have that professional or social network to tap into. So it's really lovely sometimes playing matchmaker in trying to host Wine Wednesday and just have a more social gathering rather than it be all very serious. So it's a real mix of what people can get, and people then remember those fun nights just as much as when they get a new customer or find something useful for their business as well. So the diversity of what people get out is lovely.
And I think just on that note, for new companies that are setting up, it's really important to hit the ground running, but to have motivated employees. And I think that if people feel supported, their employees feel supported on the ground, particularly if there are only one or two on the ground at the beginning, that they have that peers to rely on site. It can I suppose it's very important for the business, but in terms of attracting employees as well, that the fact that they're coming into a community and not into an isolated office is really beneficial for the growth of their business.
We had an alumni event in Belfast a couple of years ago, and one of our members there recounted her early days starting up a new business in Belfast, and she said, I was on my own. My head office was in the States, thousands of miles away. It was Glandore who supported me, not my head office, So the network is hugely important for those people, yeah.
And giving a sense of energy. I think that's what we found over the last year, in particular when you're isolated. You don't have that buzz, you don't have that excitement to come to work, and people feed off energy and feed off social interaction. So for those companies that are starting, we can be that source of energy and source of social interaction. Well, I think we do it well. I mean, we don't get it right all the time, but we really enjoy working with each other. We really enjoy spending time with each other, and I think that's what work actually provides us, is more time to spend with each other. So we were very close, obviously, as a family before we started working together, but even closer, obviously, getting to spend time with each other day to day. And we miss each other when we're not in the office. Fiona's obviously on maternity leave now. You do miss those extra interactions. We see her on the weekend. We enjoy each other's time on the weekend as well. We enjoy being aunties and Dad being grandparents. So it's a balancing act, I think. But I think the the overall drive is to have family first, and to be supportive to each other, and to be in each other's lives. And luckily we found a way to extend that into business, and you know, so there's so many added benefits that we find getting to spend the time we do with each other. In terms of managing the business, I think we've all found areas that we have naturally gravitated to, that we want to be in, that we feel like we're contributing. I feel very fortunate to have, you know, two sisters as female role models, and you know, that I look up to and that I get inspiration from, and obviously my father, who has taught us all what we know. We're incredibly fortunate just to learn off each other, but that's extended to the whole team, and hopefully that's evident. You know, we do bounce ideas off. We laugh a lot. Oftentimes we're told you can hear us before you see us. So there's a lot of fun, but not just with the family. I think with the whole team, and then that obviously spills over in terms of our, you know, children and you know, family occasions as well. So yeah.
What's it like working with us?
I consider myself very fortunate to work with my three daughters. My grandparents, my Kelly grandparents, had 9 children, and 6 of them went to the States when they were 18 years of age or thereabouts, and my grandparents never saw them again. So sad, and that was the history of Ireland. I'm so fortunate to work with my family and to have my 3 daughters. I see them most days, and then I see them on the weekend occasionally as well. So I'm very, very fortunate, and I've watched them grow and develop and become really good business people now, competent business people, competent and confident, and it's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure. But it's not just the immediate family, because I regard all the Glandore team as part of my family as well. You know, they've come into us and have grown with us, and they're part of the family. So it's really nice, really nice.